my name's Matt, and I'm injured. I think that was like my quickest intro ever. And to be perfectly honest, look, I am injured, but it doesn't feel like I'm really injured, you know? Okay, so let me just go over what we're going to be talking about today. So today we are going to be going over how to cope with an injury because, you know, I'm injured. Although, you know, it's hard for me to really wrap my head around it because I don't feel injured, but I really think I am. Clearly, I haven't reached acceptance yet, but I hope to get there sooner rather than later. Now, I came across some information on how to cope with a running injury when I was looking it up. And I figured that maybe some of you out there, I don't know, maybe you've had an injury in the past, maybe you're injured now, and God forbid, you might get injured in the future. So maybe this is going to be useful at some point in your life. I hope not. But watch the whole video, you know, just in case. Anyway, I did come across a piece on the mother runners, and it is appropriately titled, How to Cope with a Running Injury. So we're going to go through those things. But before we do, I just want to give you an update on my fundraising progress for the Tokyo Marathon. So a lot of you know, and if you don't know, you now know, that I will be running the Tokyo Marathon in 2026. Something like March 1st, 2026. And in order to go, I had to raise money for a charity. So I am raising money for the Ronald McDonald House Charities. And guys, right now, you have raised $508.72. That is fantastic. That is about 25% of my goal. So to those of you that have already donated, thank you so much. It is so appreciated, and I just think you are the best. But for those of you that haven't donated, I just want you to know that it's not too late. And I will place a link in the show notes below, and I'll pin something. I'll pin the top comment with a link so you can donate. So thank you for that. Okay, so let me just give you an update on my injury, because you remember that I was complaining about some hip pain. And then I thought I did the right thing. Like, I took 9 days off, right? My last run was on a Sunday. I didn't run until the following Wednesday. Like the week following Wednesday. And then I went out for a run and I felt good for the entire run. But it was about an hour after the run that I started feeling some discomfort. And discomfort, yes, it's just another euphemism for pain, but I had pain. And that pain happened every time I took a step. So when my right leg would kind of drive forward, I would feel pain in my groin, which I thought was my hip. It turns out it's not my hip, or probably not my hip, but I think I'm getting ahead of myself. So after that run, when I had pain, I thought, oh, this is miserable. I probably really hurt myself. I mean, I took 9 days off and I'm still feeling something. So I made a doctor's appointment for that day and I went to see my orthopedic surgeon. I had x-rays right away. The x-rays didn't show anything of note. You know what I mean? But, you know, we really don't expect that. An x-ray is only going to show an actual break. It isn't going to show anything with the soft tissue. It's not going to show a stress fracture, but that is just one step in like moving forward. So as of the making of this video, I have to wait and make an appointment to have an MRI. And when I get the results of that MRI, of course, I will report back to you. But what my doctor thinks it probably is some kind of adductor strain, because I was in there in the operating room and she's like manipulating my legs and moving them all around and kind of bending me. Does this hurt? Does this hurt? Kind of prodding and getting in there, and nothing really hurts. So it doesn't seem like it's any kind of stress reaction. So I think, I mean, this is my prediction before I really know anything, that it's probably some kind of adductor strain on my right leg. Now, for those of you that are wondering, like, Matt, are you in any pain? No, I'm not in any pain. I feel like I could go for a run right now. And that, I think, is going to be the most difficult part of my recovery from my injury. I think I've done enough air quotes for like the rest of my life. No more in this video. But that's where I'm at with my injury. And I'm going to take at least the next three to 4 weeks off, okay? Which I'm not unhappy about, but I think we'll get into that a little more during the video when we go through some of these ways to cope with a running injury. Now, before we get into this list of how to cope with running injuries, of course, this list isn't exhaustive. And depending on where you are in your running journey, like perhaps how old you are. No, I think where you are in your running journey and personality, I think that's going to count for a lot. But take each of these with a pinch of salt, because all of them may not mean something to you, but some of them may. So the first way to deal with a running injury is to feel the feelings, right? You have to accept that you are injured and it's okay to be upset about it, right? When it first happens, you may feel helpless, you may feel hopeless. You are going to experience negative emotions like, this sucks. Am I ever going to run again? Why did this happen to me? You know, there's lots of feelings that you're going to have to deal with, and that's okay. You have to give yourself permission to feel them. And if you need my permission, then yes, you have permission. Please feel the feels, because that is how you're going to accept it and move forward. And maybe that's what I need to do, because I'm still just a little bit in denial. But for me at least, as someone that has been running for a little while, I mean, coming up on 2 decades now, I've had a lot of injuries. I haven't always been this accepting. Like right now, I feel like, oh, it's okay. I'm just going to get through it. But in the past, I haven't always felt like that. In the past, I've been like totally lost. In fact, if I'm totally honest with you, the biggest inconvenience is not being able to run in new shoes when they come in, because I review shoes on YouTube and I have to run in them before I put out these reviews. On the bright side, and I tend to look on the bright side as much as I can, but on the bright side, I have received a lot of shoes over the last couple of months, and so much so that I was feeling a little swamped at times. But I think in order to get a consistent video release rate, just continuing, I'm going to have enough shoes in order to put out a video every week about shoes that I've already tested through my entire injury. And all I'm going to have to do is like reduce that from 2 videos a week to 1 video a week. So right there, that is something that I thought was really bad, but it's not going to be that bad. Anyway, less about me. Let's move on to the next way to cope with a running injury, and that is, no, it's not your fault. Like, stop blaming yourself because you got injured. Although, I don't know, like, whose fault is it if it's not mine? Like, I injured myself through an overuse injury because I overused something. So maybe it's my fault a little bit. So I think this is also going to depend on, I don't know, how comfortable you are with yourself. Yes, I guess technically it's not your fault. Like, you are doing a high impact activity, and sometimes when we do a high impact repetitive activity, injuries can occur, right? That is just part and parcel with running. But also, we chose to do a high impact activity, and unless you are purposely doing too much and running through pain, yeah, it's not your fault. I mean, if you felt something coming on and you decided to run through it, yes, I think it is your fault. You should have stopped. And no shame, because I think stopping is easier said than done. Run through a lot of pain. It's only this time that I decided to stop fairly quickly. And a lot of you have been very kind to me about that, kind of like giving me props for stopping when I started feeling, the pain coming on. So thank you. Kind words make me feel good. Third way to cope with a running injury is to go dark on the data. This, again, is going to be very individual, but the article does suggest staying away from numbers like heart rate, VO2 max, the number on a scale, steps in a day, your race predictor, stay away from those metrics if those are something that are going to bring you more discomfort. I can already tell you that since I stopped running, so right now it's been almost 2 weeks, I have already gained about 4 pounds, which 4 pounds really doesn't bother me at all. But on the other side of the coin, if I gain 4 pounds every 2 weeks and I take another 4 weeks off, that's 8 pounds plus the first 4 pounds, that's 12 pounds. Yeah, that could be a problem, but I'll deal with that when it happens. But anyway, if you have trouble like dealing with that, then yeah, stay away from the numbers. Also, if you follow a lot of like running pages on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, if you're on Strava a lot, looking at all your friends' runs and seeing all that stuff is making you feel bad about yourself because you're injured, look, it's okay to step away for a while. The world is going to continue, and I promise you all that stuff will be there when you come back. So you do you. If you feel like you need to step away from all the data, then do it. If not, knock yourself out. Other people's data and information doesn't really bother me personally. In fact, I like seeing it also. I'm going to continue to go on Strava, to look at running stuff on YouTube and Instagram. But like everything, like our running itself, it's a very individual thing, right? We're all on our own journey. Next way to cope with a new running injury is to embrace your new routine. Because for a lot of us, running is our part of our routine, right? It's part of our day. Now, even though we take a day off, it's still our routine within a week. Maybe you run 2 or 3 times a week. Maybe you're a daily runner. Maybe you take a day off like me. Running is part of my morning routine. I usually wake up, have a cup of coffee, and go for a run. And now I'm going to have a new routine. And for me, that is going to involve a lot of stationary bike time. I'm lucky enough to have a pool in my community that I share with the other people in the subdivision. So I think I'm going to be able to head over there, put on some floaties and maybe do some aqua jogging at some point. But also that pool doesn't open till quite late and I like to stay out of the sun. So I don't know if I'll actually get to that. But anyway, the point is that we have to embrace a new routine. Things can't stay the same. Things stayed the same, you would get more injured or your injury would be worse. So whatever you decide to do, embrace it. It's only for a short time. And even if it's for a long time, that's okay. Remember, runners get injured and it's okay to take a break. Next way to cope with a running injury, and something that I really am, I don't want to say looking forward to, but I almost said looking forward to, and that's to work on weaknesses. So is there an area of your routine that you could improve on, that maybe you don't put enough focus on because you're running so much? Now, if you're injured, now's the time to focus on that. I think maybe I am going to focus a little more on strength during this time that I'm out. Because even though I do place a big focus on strength, I'm going to have just a little more time now, and there's no reason not to try and strengthen myself. Hey, what I'd really like to tell you is that I'm going to work on stretching and try and get more flexible. But I've made that promise to myself so many times that it's just totally empty. I'm not going to do it, so I'm not going to promise you. Okay, but we're going to keep moving forward. We're going to keep moving forward with ways to cope with your running injury. And this is a little counterintuitive when we think about, getting away from the data. But the next way to cope with a running injury is to actually stay connected. Maybe it's a good time to reach out to non-running friends. I think you should probably continue to do that. We all can't be just one-trick ponies talking to our running friends and just exclude everyone else. So I'm going to just assume that you are healthy and you have friends across the board. But maybe coping with a running injury includes staying connected to your running friends. Remember, all of your running friends aren't injured at the same time. So maybe you can reach out to your running buddies and just see how they're doing, see how their run went today. And it is always a good time to be encouraging. Tell you guys, everybody likes a good attaboy. You did well. That was a good run. So sprinkle that stuff around like confetti. And if you keep, you maintain that social link with all your running friends, with your running social media friends, it's only going to strengthen your bond. And for me, I think it keeps me focused. It keeps me focused on where I want to go, what I want to do with my running moving forward. It's also going to remind me that, look, if I want to run healthy, I need to rest now. So that's how I'm choosing to look at it. Okay, the next way to deal with a running injury or cope with a running injury, they say, is a negative, and that is to not make plans. Look, you're injured right now, but there's still stuff that you want to do, right? Your wants, they don't just disappear because you're injured. So until you have the end is in sight, probably not a good idea to start planning races. Or I don't know, maybe you can plan races, but don't plot time goals, because actually we don't know how long this recovery is going to take. And I realize that this is a very silly thing to say because I started this video talking about how I'm going to be running the Tokyo Marathon. And even though I know that I shouldn't be making plans, I've already got stuff in my head. Tokyo isn't going to be my next race, or at least I hope it's not going to be my next race. So maybe I need to pay more attention to this one. I need to stop making plans for now. But the only thing is that, I got so many plans. I just want to start making them and thinking about them. That's half the fun of running. Okay, the next way to cope with your running injury is to reframe your identity. And this, I think, is very important if your whole identity is running. And that, I think, can be a problem. And I think actually for those of you that only see me on YouTube, on Instagram, all I post is running stuff. So you might think that my entire identity is running, but I'm a little more multifaceted than that. Running is just what I choose to make my social media about. But when you're injured, like I'm injured now, it's time to explore other things that you like. I'm a big fan of doing that anyway. I think we should be just a little more well-rounded. But if you're not, this is it's a perfect excuse. It is a perfect time to go and do other things that you like to do. Maybe stuff that you've been putting off because you've been running so much. Look, running is still going to be there when you're healthy again. But while you can't run, you may as well do something else fun, something else that you like. Now, another way to cope with a running injury is to tap into other athlete resources. And lucky for you, you are a participant in a sport that has a very high injury rate. So what does that mean? That means that there are a lot of injured runners out there at any point in time. So reach out to them. There are a lot of message boards. I'm sure if you do a search for injured runners, there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes out and you can talk to them. If you're injured now, I'm injured, let's get into a conversation and commiserate with each other. But I guess what I mean to say is that you're not alone. There's lots of people out there that are injured, that are understanding what you're going through. And most likely, most of the runners that you know have probably been injured at some point, so they're also going to understand it. And the final thing to cope with your running injury is to stay positive, to see the silver linings, because there are silver linings. And those silver linings are everywhere. In fact, I think if you turn around everything we've already talked about in this video, I think we can make silver linings out of all of them. Like focusing on other things that we have maybe neglected, staying connected with friends, maybe reaching out to other non-running friends. I know we're not supposed to make plans for future races, but you've got a lot more time on your hands now. So, it's fun to think about going to fun destination races or thinking about what you could do at your next 5K. So above all, I want you to remain positive through your injury. No, that is also easier said than done. But now I want to hear from you. If you have ever had a running injury, if you had ever had any pain when you were running, I want you to drop a comment and let me know about it. Now that comment prompt has the potential to just blow up my comment section because every single runner out there has experienced some kind of discomfort when they're out on the run, if not a full-blown injury. But of course, it will be the same, 20, 25 people that comment in the comments. So thank you to you guys. I really enjoy interacting with you. And if you have made it to this point in the video, because we're talking about injuries and how to deal with them, I want you to put that little emoji, that face with the head bandages all around his head. You know the one I mean. Of course, I've put it on the screen right now. That's what I want you to put in the comments, just so I know that you've made it to the end of this video. And with that, it's Matt B. This has been a video on how to cope with your running injuries. Be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.